Hello, everyone. It's Ariela, and welcome to the Attachment Theory podcast. First, let's start out by reviewing what attachment theory is. Attachment theory was developed by John Bowlby, otherwise known as the father of attachment theory, as well as Mary Ainsworth. Bowlby theorized the importance of bonds between infants and their mothers and how it can impact a person's emotional, social, and cognitive development. For example, a person's goals and attitudes may be shaped by their mothers. Babies will typically cry if they are in need of help or attention, and this is their way of asking their mother for comfort and attention. If a baby and mother don't have that consistent bond, then it will impact their emotional, social, and cognitive development. So what is a secure attachment bond, and how does it develop in early childhood? The first 18 months of a child's life are critical for development. When a parent nurtures and is responsive to their child, this promotes a healthy attachment and also helps the child feel seen and cared for. Children who have secure attachment style typically have strong social skills and do well engaging with other children when it comes to things like sharing toys and providing empathy. Children who have secure attachment to their parents are moderately distressed when their caregiver leaves the room and seek immediate contact when their caregiver enters the room. In 1969, Mary Ainsworth conducted an experiment called Strange Situation in order to observe attachment in children with their caregivers. The experiment consisted of 100 children, ranging in age from 9 to 18 months, as well as their mothers and a stranger to the child. The children were placed in a room with toys and other objects that they could play with while the mothers and strangers would enter and leave the room. For example, the mother and child would spend time together in the room, and then a stranger would join the mother and child. After a few minutes, the mother would leave the room, leaving the stranger and child alone together. The stranger would then try to play with the child or attempt to soothe the child if they became upset, and this occurred throughout different time intervals. As a result of this experiment, Ainsworth identified different attachment styles. We already went over secure attachment in the beginning of this podcast. The other two are insecure avoidant and insecure ambivalent or resistant. Insecure avoidant attachment is when the child is not concerned when their caregiver leaves, and therefore they do not have any separation anxiety and do not seek contact when they return. This attachment style typically occurs if their caregivers are not as responsive to their emotional needs. Lastly, insecure ambivalent or resistant is when the child clings to their mother and are extremely distressed when left alone and are often difficult to soothe once in a distressed state. The study determined that mothers who are sensitive to their child's needs have children who are securely attached, while those who are not as sensitive and do not respond to their child's needs appropriately are most likely to have children with insecure attachment. Children who have insecure attachment bonds typically tend to be at risk of social and emotional behavioral problems. Now, what are some critiques of the attachment theory? Critics argue that the Bowlby's theory places a large emphasis on a child and mother's bond rather than other caregivers, and as a result, it overlooks the contributions of the child's other relatives and caregivers that play a significant role in the child's life. This could be a father figure, grandparent, sibling, or other caregiver. I think that in today's time, Bowlby would have had to alter his theory as family structures look different than in Bowlby's time. For example, nowadays, not every family consists of a mother and father figure, as some families consist of two fathers or two mothers, some children even being raised by grandparents, aunts, uncles, sometimes older siblings since birth. A lot of times as well, parents are now adopting children, and there's other needs that come along with that. Is attachment theory a good fit in social work? I would say that attachment theory, for the most part, is a good fit in social work. Attachment has an important role in children's development as it allows the child to feel safe and helps the child to regulate their emotions because they feel secure. I think that attachment can have a large impact on children's behaviors and overall well-being. I personally believe that attachment goes beyond the bond with a child's mother and can be influenced by other caregivers, such as fathers and other relatives. I think it is important to know what families look like in today's world when thinking of attachment theory and how it can impact a child's development. Now that I know more about the theory, I believe that I would use this theory in my own practice. I learned more about the different attachment styles and the impact it can have on the child. In my job role, I work with teenagers who I think have been impacted by the attachment with their caregiver as it is reflected through their relationships and behaviors. I often work with teenagers who have been raised by grandparents their whole lives or single-parent households. And I think that this can have a large impact on child's attachment styles and development. In my internship, I am currently working with a young mom who lost custody of her two young children. One of her children were reunified shortly before their second birthday, and she is still trying to reunify with her infant son who turned 1 in January. This mom often expresses concern regarding her bond with her son, as she feels he may have difficulty bonding with him. She actually looked into attachment theory herself recently, as she is concerned about her child's development and their bond with him being out of the home for most of his life. I was able to discuss it further with her due to exploring this theory more while working on this project. I am overall interested in learning more about attachment and the effects that it has on child development, as I think that there's a lot of avenues that attachment theory can take when it comes to development. Overall, that's attachment theory, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them in the comments. Thanks. Bye.